Hello all. For this lesson we are going over the last section of 5.4, which is polynomial division and graphing. So we're going to divide this polynomial of f of x, which is x cubed minus 12x plus 47x minus 60. And we're going to test if x equals 3 as a solution, aka is it a factor? If it is, awesome. If it's not, not so awesome. But we're going to graph it as well. So we're going to use synthetic division here because I think that's the easier choice. So 3 goes in my box. I have 1x cubed. I have negative 12x squareds. I have 47x's, and I have negative 60. So from here, I am going to drop my first value. So my first value is 1. And drop that down. And then I'm going to multiply that by 3 and put it here, and then add down. I end up with negative 9. Negative 9 times 3 is negative 27. Add down, I end up with positive 20. Multiply that by 3, and I end up with 60. And I have a remainder of 0. Now this is beautiful because the remainder of 0 tells me that x equals 3 is a factor. And that factor, if I work backwards, is going to be x minus 3. And that's one factor, right? And I'm left with no longer an x cubed, but an x squared minus 9x plus 20. And I get those all from above. So if you want to see where I get those from, I got that from here. And these are still all set equal to 0. I really only need to factor this one because I already know that this is x equals 3. So I'm going to factor this second one here. And I need to ask myself, what multiplies to 20 but then adds to be negative 9? Well, both of those factors are going to be negative, and it should be a 4 and a 5. So I'm going to set both of those factors equal to 0, and now I found out that x is going to also equal 4, and x is also going to equal 5. Now, to graph this, we have to think back, and we have to say to ourselves, oh, guess what? This right here is a power of 1, this is a power of 1, this one's also a power of 1, so we're going to have a cross at all of these locations. We look back at the beginning and we say, hey, this was an odd function, so this is odd and it's positive. So that means for going left and right, so the left end behavior and the right end behavior, if it's odd, they're going to be opposite of each other. But if it's positive, the right end behavior goes up and the left end behavior goes down. We have 3 points of intersection, 1 at 3, 1 at 4, 1 at 5. The right end behavior ends up going up, the left end behavior goes down. So now we cross through each one, so cross, cross, and cross, and we have our beautiful graph. It's fantastic, good job. Okay, we're going to move on. If you need to, you can always pause, go back, watch this again. But we're going to move on to this next problem here, and we're going to look and see whether or not this function, f of x, which is equal to x to the 4th plus 2x cubed minus 8x minus 16, and we're going to see if x equals negative 2 is a root, aka where it intersects. Let's try it. But before I do that, I'm going to rewrite this. This is x to the 4th plus 2x cubed plus 0x squared. We don't have an x squared, so we have to include that. Minus 8x minus 16. And we are going to see if negative 2 is a factor. Well, we have 1x to the 4th, 2x cubes, 0x squareds, negative 8x's, and negative 16 as a constant. From here, we're going to drag down our first value and then multiply it. And we should end up with a negative 2. Add down, we get a 0. Multiply that by negative 2, that's still 0. Add that down, that's still 0. Multiply that again 0. Now we end up with this negative 8. Man, that's great. Multiply that by negative 2, and we end up with 16. Oh, hey, look, we have no remainder. So in this circumstance, yes, x equals negative 2 is a root or an x-intercept. So I'm going to put it as a point. And it's really important that we notice that it's a root, but I'm going to rewrite this all together. This was originally, we just chose to look at x plus 2. That's what this is right here. And we are multiplying it by what's left, which is we transitioned from an x to the fourth, and we reduced it to 1x cubed. We have no x squareds, we have no x's, but we do have minus 8. Oh, we can make it smaller. And what does it all equal to? Well, 0. Now, what's important to see here is this is actually a difference of 2 cubes. So we're going to have to dive into this one a little bit more. If I look at just x cubed minus 8, I can see that I have a cubed minus another cubed, and we're going to have to do our formula. We're going to have to do a little bit of extra work. We know that x times itself 3 times is going to be x cubed, and we know 2 times itself 3 times is going to be 8. So we have to follow our formula for a difference of 2 cubes, which is kind of tough because if you got rid of your notes, then they don't exist anymore. But I will show you that if we have a a difference of 2 cubes, we're going to have a minus here, a plus, and a plus. Our first value goes here, so x and minus 2. Hey, we found another root. And then we take our x and we square it. We take our 2 and we square it, and then we multiply our terms, and that's what goes in the middle. So let's put this all together. We have x plus 2 times x minus 2. We found another root. This one is negative 2. We know that one works. This one is going to be positive 2. Hey, we found another root. That works. They're both going to cross. Fantastic. Okay, but these right here will give us 2 more answers. Let's see if they even work. So let's see if they even exist within our realm. So we have to use the quadratic formula. And if you remember that, it's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is going to be 2 squared, minus 4 times a times c. Now you should pause here if you don't remember how to do this, and you can always look at the formula, compare it to your notes. All over 2a, which is 2 times 1, which is just 2. And now I'm just going to roll through this math. So this is negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 16 all over 2. X equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 12, or negative 12, which is going to be imaginary. Oh no. All over 2. I'm just going to finish this out just so we can get the practice and see it. This is actually x equals negative 2 plus or minus 2i root 3 over 2. And I can reduce this. So I should end up with x equals negative 1 plus or minus I root 3. Now, since this is imaginary, these 2 answers do not cross the x-axis. So these are just imaginary answers. They have nothing to do with this graph at the time being. So I'm not too worried about it. I am going to note that this is my original x-intercept. So I'm going to put an x-intercept at negative 16. I'm going to put it here. It doesn't match the scale. That's okay. I'm also going to highlight, so I'll highlight both of those things. I'm also going to highlight that this is an even power. So this is an even positive power. So that means my left and my right end behaviors are going to be matching. My right end behavior is going to be going up. That means my left goes up. So this is how I'm going to do this. I got to go through 2. I've got to hit my y-intercept, and then I got to go through 2 again. So I'm sorry, I have to go through negative 2 and then positive 2. And this is what it should look like. It's very close to what its shape is. The scale does not match, but that's okay. So we did a lot of work here. You can always pause here, take a look at all the work that we did, and you can go back and forth, watch this video a couple times and see what we did. But we're really just using synthetic division to find factors so we can graph it. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and feel free to ask me any questions you'd like.